welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. I am your host, Officer Antoine Thomas. Yep, that is me. Listen, we've had a great episode, one of season 5. We have hit this off with a huge bang. As I told you, we're not going to leave any stones unturned. We're going to keep rocking and we're going to keep on rolling. And so, if you've not had the opportunity to listen to the last episode of season 5 titled "What is a Grand Jury?" You have to go back and listen to that here on Real Talk. I broke down exactly what a grand jury is in the state where I live, North Carolina. I also talked about the grand jury of New York. Of course, we saw last month and weeks prior to that Donald Trump was indicted by the sitting DA, another own than Alvin Bragg, I believe, if I'm saying that correctly, or Alan Bragg, I believe it might be. Either one. I always mess his name up. But the last name is most important, Braggs. He was a DA who went ahead and said that Trump was guilty of all, I don't even know how many, 30 counts or however much it was, allegedly misdemeanors that he trumped up to, imagine that, no pun intended, to a felony. And so we're still watching that play out, stated that he mishandled his funds as it pertains to campaign money. He paid off Stormy Daniels, all this stuff. But I'm not here to really break that down. Neither was I here to break it down in the last episode. But I did talk about exactly how much power a grand jury has and what is a grand jury, how it all came about. So you do want to go back and listen to that episode. It's very informational. I've had a lot of folks tell me that they never knew that much about a grand jury. Most had never even known the first thing that a grand jury does, which is, again, different from the district court grand jury. So I enjoyed that. It was fun. I enjoyed just looking up great information. But today I have a special guest on with me. As I told you that this season is going to be explosive. Believe it or not, I'm going to have more and more guests. But the first guest to grace the Real Talk family today is one powerful woman. She is making strides. She is an author, which I will tell you about her shortly here. She's doing great things. She supports law enforcement, and I'm proud to have her on air with me. I will give her time to explain her platform, what she's doing, where she has been. And I just want to throw a disclaimer out there. Today, our show is nothing more than a relaxed show. I'm going to give this wonderful lady, if you notice I haven't said her name yet, I'm getting ready to, some time just to tell the listeners who she is, and what she's doing. I don't really have many questions for her. I'm going to let her take the reins and just really tell us about who she is and, again, the things that she hopes to accomplish, and then also what she's doing now. Then we'll end talking about her support for law enforcement. But today on the show, I have Geeta Chopra on the show with me today. Geeta, how are you doing today? And listen, guys, you may be looking at her name and saying it's Geeta. I've said Geeta all along. It's actually Geeta. And so we're going to give her a proper due. She has a beautiful name. Geeta, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Antoine. It is fabulous to be here. I'm blessed. Thank you for having me on the show. And yeah, I'm excited to talk.
It's going to be a power-packed time. We're not going to take a lot of your time or the listeners' time. We're going to dive right in it. But you have done some amazing things and still doing it. And you also have your own network that you are spreading the truth and the gospel. Geeta, if you don't mind, tell the listeners who you are, where you're from, and what you are doing in this season in 2023. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm from Pittsburgh, and again, my name is Geeta. So I do a few things. I wear many hats, but I have a TV show, which is based out of Princeton Television Network. Mm-hmm. You guys can find me there. If you go to my website, lifeafterchrist.com, you'll see everything I'm working on there. So I've got more books coming out. I wrote a couple of books, and we're going to talk about one of them today on the show, I believe. I'm just trying to win America back. I'm out there. I'm helping people campaign. I'm interviewing people who are running for office. I'm spreading the truth and the good news. And look, that's what we got to do, right? We're in a battle, whether we know it or not. So I'm just letting God use me through all the outlets and channels that he has, whether it's writing, my television show, I do teaching, I do a lot of ministry work as well. But we got to definitely get our feet mobilized on the ground, because there's a lot going on right now. and 2024 is around the corner.
Indeed, it is. That was very powerful. Gita, what compelled you or propelled you into the world of politics? What motivated you?
Well, as a Christian, I think that it's irresponsible for me not to care what's going on in politics. And then I talk to people all the time, and they say, "Well, I just don't even watch the news, or I can't be bothered, or and I'm happy this way. I don't want to really know what's going on because it'll upset me." Things like that. In
Yeah.
a sense, that's kind of a self-centered approach. I'm not saying to watch the news. Trust me, I don't really watch the news anymore either. But I am concerned about what's going on, and I'm very interested to also run for office eventually, because, like I said, there's just too much ignorance. I think we're losing our civil liberties, our personal liberties, our constitutional rights, economic prosperity. America is no longer going to be the breadbasket of the world. If we keep this up, everything's at risk, everything's at stake, and it's almost like Satan's running the country. So to kind of roll over and play dead, well, then I don't want to be a part of that, right? I don't want to be the cause of that, I should say. I'd rather be the one to affect change. So I think, to answer your question, it's kind of the only common sense approach is to get involved for someone like me. I'm not speaking for everyone.
I love it. And this show has just taken off. But as you can tell, listeners, that she, again, like I stated to you, she's a powerful woman. And so I know many of you are saying, what is today's title of our show? Well, I have it for you today. It is Women with Strong Who Have Strong Voices. And Geeta, you are one of those people. And I thought it would be befitting to title that show, again, Women Who Have Strong Voices. And you are one of those women. And so you stated something that was very important, because before our politics, before being an American, before our gender, before our race, we are what? Christians first. And I like that you mentioned that off the gate, that, hey, I have an obligation if I'm living according to the standards of the Bible and Christianity. And so I love that. And so where are you originally from, Geeta?
So my parents are originally from India. Mm-hmm.
I love it, and the reason why I bring that up is because you were you born in India, or just your parents were from India?
That's my parents, yeah. So I'm second generation.
Second
And
generation, but it runs through your blood and your veins. And so you, the reason why I asked where you from there, because what we're finding in America, a lot uh, of our Americans who are maybe not natural born citizens, obviously you are, but others who are not, and they had the opportunity to come to this beautiful country, their demeanor, their approach, their politics are different, because they understand, compared to an America was born here, they understand that this is America of opportunity and freedom, and they came here to take advantage of all of that. And I can tell you, just like you probably agree with me, being an American and born here, we are spoiled. We are what we call sometimes complacent, and we are running off of trying to make it happen for us, and we forget about the cause at hand. But what I love about people, as we call them foreigners, they have a special interest, which is why a lot of them come to our country, made up of all different races, and come and be very, very much successful, because they always had this American dream. And I know you talked to many people on your show in person who said, I had the American dream. I am the epitome of the American dream. And most times, it makes us Americans look kind of weak and what I'll say desperate, because all the opportunities are at our exposure, but yet we see BLM and Tifa. We see the left telling us that we're victims in the Black community, even in the minority communities. We're victims. The white man has always suppressed us and all this stuff. But yet a person comes from another country and are very successful. So what does that say? Is our country really, I can't even say the word, systemically racist, as we like to say all the time? Or is it that some folks may be racist? Is the whole conglomerate of white Americans racist, or is it
yeah.
some folks are racist?
Well, you said a lot. And first, just to clarify, I wasn't born in the U.S. I was actually born in Canada. I was born in North America, but I came to the
Wow.
U.S. Yeah, I came to the U.S. when I was like 3.5 years old or 4 years old. So that's my earliest memories as a human being were in the United States. But that being said, I'm going to answer your question in a long-winded way, because I really think we need to break down the truth.
Let's
And
do
in a
it.
sense, that's what Jesus Christ did, right? His whole ministry was based on the truth. And look, Antoine, he offended people. He offended the Pharisees. and they eventually killed him. But he never stopped telling the truth, and I believe that's, as his follower, that's what I need to do. You haven't seen real oppression or racism until you actually leave the United States. All
Wow.
right. And I would say that I've been to India. Okay. I wasn't born there. I had never really lived there for more than a few months at a time. But just being there was enough to show me, okay, the racism, the oppression. I would suggest that every American go abroad for a month, okay, somewhere further east, okay, beyond Europe. I'm not saying go to England or Greece and go on vacation. I'm talking about Asia. All right, go to a nation that's still developing, where their
Mhm.
institutions are not fully mature. There's a lot of corruption. There's not basic human rights. Spend a month there and then come back, okay, and talk to me. All right, we're entitled, we're spoiled, we're ungrateful. It's erroneous, it's negligent, it's dangerous. All right, and we have the left out here. They're more concerned with all these gender issues. And look, the world is laughing at the United States right now, Antoine,
Mhm.
because of
Mhm.
the polarization of our politics. You have China, Russia, and India forming alliances. All right, it was just announced that China and India are buying oil from Russia at $60 a barrel. There's talk about the US currency no longer being the reserve currency. There's talk about the US dollar no longer being the petrodollar. These all have major macroeconomic indications, okay, associated with them. And these are huge economic discussions to have, but we can't have them because we're too concerned about men and women wanting to mutilate and change their body parts, because women want penises, okay, and men want a breast, if you will. So
Mm.
again, that's unbiblical. Okay, it's ungodly. It's horrifying, and the world is laughing at us right now. Okay, that's why we have sky high inflation, because we're preoccupied with the wrong things. Okay, we're solving the wrong problems. That's
Right.
not what's important. What's important is that our currency is about to crash. Okay, we have triple digit inflation, not double digit as the CPI indicates. It's triple digit. All right, we're running out of oil. Okay, we're not energy independent anymore like we were during the Trump administration. But that's
Mhm.
just the least of our worries. I mean, look around. Okay, so we're not going to be the leading nation. We're in debt. So we are approaching $30 trillion in debt. And I'm saying all these because most Americans are sleepwalking through their lives. $30 trillion. Antoine, our GDP is less than that. Our GDP is around 24 trillion, but we owe 30 trillion. There's something wrong with that picture. That's saying that you actually owe more than you earn every month. So we're a debtor nation, and we're mostly in debt to China, which leads us into all the unfair trade agreements, Chinese imports being dumped into America, and the Biden administration not even having the guts to speak up to them. All right, which leads me into OPEC and other issues, him not being able to negotiate with OPEC. So we got serious issues going on right now. But again, the most important thing is that we feel that we're not entitled, right? Or we don't have our rights because we want to change our gender. So that's really what should be important. Is it just me, or have we lost our minds completely?
We've totally lost it. All that you said was powerful and it's true, and yet we still haven't woken up. We talk about being woke. No, we're not really even awake. We're asleep. And as we always say at the wheel, this country is powerful. We know that. It used to be one of the powerfulest country in the world, but we are slowly digressing from that. And it's ironically enough that you stated that you were born in Canada, which they are doing major leftist ideas over there, and it is crazy. We saw it during COVID. There, we saw the leader, what he's doing over there, Macron. And at the end of the day, it is something that is beyond our imagination as we see it. Those things.
Canada's a socialist country. Yeah, it's
Indeed.
socialist. Yeah. So, you can't compare Canada and the US. I always laugh when people think, hey, Canada's just like another state. No, it's not. Go live in Canada for a few months, for a few years. Okay. So again, it comes back to it again that Americans, as Americans, we don't realize what we have. And we're too busy barking up the wrong trees. You're talking about racism. I don't believe America's a racist place. I don't. That might offend some people. Okay. That might even offend people I'm affiliated with. But I'm sorry, I can't agree to that statement. I believe there was racism. And I'm a person of color saying this, by the way.
Mhm.
So I can say this. All right. There may have been, but I don't believe that's a severe impediment today. I believe more in the American dream. Okay. And it's just, look, it's against what the Bible says, right? Jesus in the Bible says mindset is everything. Okay. There's no limit to what you can do. And God is my God. I'm not going to say, well, the government's going to limit me. It's not the government. It's not the media. It's not the world that's limiting you. It all
Mhm.
starts from within. And if you don't have that within you, you're more focused on, racism and things outside of you, then there's a problem with you. Okay. And if you want to keep bringing up the past and be woke, say, let's keep regurgitating, that too is unbiblical. It's foolish to live in the past, right? It's sinful. And you're just calling up, those old spirits, which have pretty much been over, done and over with. Slavery's over, right? And they just want to keep reminding us about it. That's a victimization mindset. And I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as a winner. Look, living in the best country in the world, they really should partake in a lot of the opportunity that we have, because there's still the American dream. I don't know if it'll be here in 30 years from now based on the rate we're headed, but it is still kind of here today.
Totally agree with that. We hope that something is left for our next generation. But like you say, I totally agree. The way we're going, who knows?
Scary.
Hey, God may be back soon. Jesus may be back sooner than not, and so we may not even have to worry about this in the future. But and I stand correct because I made an incorrect statement about, and I don't know if you caught that, Geeta, but we were so busy talking. I stated that Macron was the president of Canada. That'll be Justin Trudeau. So let's make sure people that are listening they understand that. Hey, that's not correct. And on Real Talk, we always want to make sure we're talking good stuff and real good facts, and that's what you're doing, Geeta. So don't worry, you're right on point. And so I enjoy that. So when you look at the things that are going forth in America, you talked about inflation, you talked about our debt ceiling, you talked about things as it relates to ideology. You mentioned Christianity. As we see 2024 approach us, and as you can see, I have a Trump hat on today, and I'm wearing this for specific reasons and very strategic reasons today. Again, this show is not centered around Trump totally, but we do have some information that we're going to share with you that Geeta has put together a powerful, powerful book that I've not myself read yet, but I will be getting a copy. But I'm all about promoting things that are good. And so, Geeta, when you look at that, how do you feel about our current state as it pertains to our commander in chief?
What commander in chief? I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
we I don't think we have one right now. But going back to, and, it's sad, and I'm not out here to make fun of people and insult them. That's not what I'm
sure.
doing. But we really got to be realistic here. So I wrote the book, dedicated to Donald Trump. I really believe that he had America's best interests at heart. And I'm a professor of economics, so I understand a little bit about what's happening behind the scenes. Trump absolving NAFTA, for example. So in my book, I talk about that. I wrote the book for him, to him, and he's been hand delivered a copy. But in there, I kind of just extolled some of the things that he did, what he was, legendary for. He absolved the trade agreement with North America. So that would be with Canada, Mexico, and the US. And he revamped it. He rewrote it because it just wasn't fair. He stood up to China. He tried to make peace with North Korea. He brought the oil and gas prices down. He managed inflation. We had a strong US dollar, a strong stock market, strong real estate market. He created opportunity zones. He was fiscally conservative. He was against printing money. So his monetary policy was very conservative. He wanted to pay down the debt. He banned certain Chinese stocks from being on our stock exchange. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I think that was a real commander in chief, standing up for America in the world, especially to China, because China is a real threat to us right now. I don't think the average American who's more worried about changing their gender realizes that. That's what we really need to be concerned about. And look, that's why I wrote the book. I think that our current commander in chief is asleep at the wheel. I know he has a 35% approval rating. It's dangerous. It's scary. We are in serious trouble if we don't wake up and vote correctly. There's a lot of hope. Look, we still have a lot of potential. We're not going anywhere anytime soon, but I'm just saying that things can get pretty ugly very quickly if we don't wake up. If we vote for another 4 years of this, and I'm not just talking about this particular guy, I'm talking about his party, all right, because they're all communists. They all have the same agenda. They want to nationalize healthcare, print more money, and do who knows what, right? But they're running out of money and they're running out of time. So we need a guy in there who's going to actually start paying off the debt. Again, use money conservatively, just practice better monetary policy. For example, our monetary policy has failed. So they've raised rates, what, 8 times in the last 18 months, and we still have record high inflation. So the
Hmm.
reason they raise rates is to, curtail demand. When you spend less, then prices go up less, things slow down. It's like slamming the brakes on the economy. Only it hasn't worked. So they're obviously missing something, right? They don't know what they're doing. The monetary policy has been ineffective with this administration. So look, the catastrophe after catastrophe, open borders, the North Korea crisis looks like it's coming back. Everything. There's nothing going right. So again, I'm not a pessimist, but we need to wake up. Thankfully, 2024 is around the corner.
Indeed, it is, and you make up a good point, and I think for the majority, or I would even say all conservatives, we're not making fun of President Joe Biden. At the end of the day, he is the leader of the free world. No matter how he got there, no matter what he's doing, he's there. So we never want to talk negative in a way that we're talking about his ailments, because we understand there are some things that are not going well with him, cognitive issues. So I'm 100% with you. I just want the listeners to know, who are like-minded like us, but there may be some that may be watching who are huge supporters of Biden. We're not making fun of Biden. We are upset, and yes, we're going to call out the things that he has done with the leftist agenda. But it amazes me that our country at once was very well respected, and you would think with anything, it's like if you have a home, you purchase your home, and you decorate the home because it's something you enjoy, right? It's where you're going to be. This is what you've worked hard for, and you expect when someone comes into your home, either the rules are take your shoes off, or don't do things you shouldn't do, go in the refrigerator without asking, things, just simple things, right? You would think, us being Americans, I don't care if you were born here or not, but just living in this country, you want things to be nice, decent, and in order. You would not want to see a drag queen story hour. You would not want to see men attempting to wear dresses and vice versa, because these are things that don't go together well, and all it's doing is dividing, and it is also what it's doing is making us look weak. And so countries like China see all these things, and then they see who our president is, and they say, well, these people's minds are already jacked up. So the best way we know how to do is let them overtake themselves, and we'll continue to use and abuse them. That's
Right.
exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think Vladimir Putin also already said something about the transgender movement stemming out of America. He cracked a joke at it, I think about 3 weeks ago. So look, it's not a secret anymore. We're falling apart internally, and it's just a polarization of the party. So we have one party who's just gone way far left, right? And I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying anyone's better. I'm not dividing people. I'm just saying that we need to wake up and use our heads, right? And the one person who was able to ascertain this problem and address it the most, according to me, I know this is opinion, but in the best possible way, based on what we need right now, we need a strong leader. We need an aggressive leader to stand up to China and fix all this nonsense, was Donald Trump. And they've arrested him, they've charged him, they're trying to distract him. So it's almost like what's the word? It's self-sabotaging. It's almost like a suicidal tendency right now in the U.S. that which we should be helping ourselves, right? Not killing ourselves. And I'm not sure, it's just a personal vendetta against Trump. And it's very, very, very troubling, to say the least. But I know there's a lot of prayers out there for him. I've been praying for him. When I pray for him, I pray for the health of our country as well, to get our country back. The American dream is still very much alive. Look, and again, I'm going to repeat, I know America's not a racist place, or I can at least say it's not for me. And my reality is perception is reality. Okay. So for me, it's not a racist place. So it won't be. But again, there's groups of people who just want to keep regurgitating the past. So they will run into racist problems, right? That's what I think.
No, 100%. And again, it's for the dividing. If you keep telling someone that another person is racist and everything that they do, see, or say is racist, at some point they're going to believe that. But that's because they're weak in the mind. See, you and
Right.
I are strong in mind, and many others like us. So you can't tell me that Geeta is racist until I have the opportunity to get to know Geeta and see what she's about. Then I'll make my own determination if Geeta is actually racist or not. And I think that's what people should do. They shouldn't take people's word without trying to figure it out for themselves and getting to know. It starts with a conversation, number one, and I guarantee you, if we were to do that, because the average black young kid you talk to who doesn't have a good structure, home wise and church based and their faith based, if you tell them that their neighbor who they've seen them all the time but they've never talked to him is racist, they're most likely going to believe that. Why? Because they don't believe in communication. They don't believe in research in this generation. And I'm not talking about all of them in the generation that's now, but for the majority. I know I worked in the public school system as a law enforcement officer, so I know the way they think and on how they take things and just run with it, which is why the media uses that so powerfully to make them think that.
And it's funny. I'm just laughing because I've been called a white supremacist, and but what's even funnier than that is who I was called. I was called that by South Asian people. So technically, I'm South Asian, right? From this by heritage. Of course, I'm
Sure.
American. But it's the same thing with the South Asian community in the U.S., Antoine. So they all vote left, okay, and they're all brainwashed that from generation to generation that's the right thing to do. But now let's just take a look at this for a moment. I've been to India, like I mentioned, and I'm familiar with the South Asian culture. I mostly identify with American culture because that's how I grew up, and where you grew up is what shapes your thinking for life. But visiting India, I got to learn another culture. And what is that culture? Firstly, it's extremely socially conservative. No abortions, okay? They don't believe in divorce. They have strong family values. That's right there. That's not the Democratic Party, okay? They are not for the transgender movement. It's highly shunned in India. It's considered taboo. Nobody respects it. That's not the Democratic Party. They are very fiscally conservative, mostly saving their money. Okay. They're not spendthrifts. As you might notice in the US, most South Asians are in the highest tax income earning bracket. Okay. Doctors, educated. Again, that's not the welfare system. That's not handouts. That's not the Democratic Party. So, but they come to the US and they vote in contradiction to their actual values. Okay. And the reason for that is intimidation, timidity, and just weakness. They're weak in their mind. Look, I'm sorry. Dinesh D'Souza came on my show and he explained it very well. He said Indian people collectively are weak. And he said they vote, in opposition because they want to fit in. Okay, they just want to fit in, right? They don't want to go against the crowd and the status quo. And they've been doing that for generations. So we need to do that. We need to vote Democrat. And thankfully, I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem. First of all, I didn't come from India, but I grew up here and I learned the truth. Okay. And another thing I want to comment on, one thing Jesus said, back to the racist thing, there is no Jew nor Greek. In Jesus Christ, we are all one. There's no female or male, he even said. He said we're all one. And I don't even see people's race anymore. I don't do that. I just kind of see the heart. And to me, at least in the kingdom of God, we're all one. Okay. I'm not racist and I don't see racism. It's just not on my radar. Right.
100%. Geeta, I was also, along with the organization that I served with, Blexit, we were also called a white supremacist group. And I don't understand how a black minority organization can be a white supremacist group, but they did it. So it's always to fit a narrative, no matter how it works out. They're going to put it in the box, right? If it don't fit in the box, they're going to make it fit. They're going to shove it in the box, right? How many times have you tried to package something and put tape around it, a box to close it, and it was something poking out that just when you pushed it down and smushed it down, as they say, and made it work? That's what the left does. They, no matter what, they're going to put it in the box and they're going to squeeze it in there and put tape on it and cover it up. But people like us, we're not willing to bow to that. You said something very powerful and interesting as it pertains to the South Asian community, because, when you look at that, we understand, I think everybody knows that one of the biggest things back in India is education. We see most of our doctors are made up of that culture, pharmaceutical folks and just engineers and tech, all these people. And of course, they're business owners. You said something powerful, but it makes a whole lot of sense. Scared, intimidation, which is how the left gets their vote. They feel as if you're one of us. At one point, the black.
Well, sorry to interrupt. It's the race card. So, and this, my father almost, sometimes fell for it until I really talked to him. I said, look, the Democratic Party is not for people of color. It's the race card. So they genuinely believe that Republicans are racist. And who
Absolutely.
are they? I'm talking about immigrants. It's not just Indian immigrants.
That's
I'm talking
correct.
about immigrant from Portugal. I don't care where they're from. A Catholic immigrant, a Jewish immigrant. Jewish people have the same problem, right? And they believe that the Republican Party it's a race card. They play it and it works. It works with weak people. And these are educated people. So you got me. I'm confounded myself here, but I think that it just appeals to the ego, and that ego appeal is stronger and overrides the education component and their rational sense of thinking, because that's the essence of who you are, right? Your identity, your race, where you're from. And when if you feel like someone's attacking that, if the left is going to come right, the day you land on American soil and you start hearing it through the media, tabloids, popular culture, you're going, oh wow, of course, why would I vote Republican? You're going to right away identify with that certain party, and it just generationally, it's a generational curse.
It's a generational curse that is still plaguing the black community, and you hit
Yeah.
it on the nail. And like you said, it's not just an Asian thing, a black thing. It is anybody that's coming into this country. They're told that the Republicans are racist. That way, that and as you was talking, I'm thinking, and again, I could be wrong. I'm not in those shoes, but I believe one of the main reasons why they do this, and they are weak minded, because they're afraid to lose what they so much want to gain, and they feel like the other side is going to be the people to destroy that for them. So
Yeah.
they've told to vote Democrat. But in reality, the right and Republican side is the one that's going to help keep what they have, because we don't want what they have. We just want them to be able to have a piece of what we like to say American pie, right? I feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, and I think somebody else asked me this once, and I talked at length about it. But I think that one of the answers or solutions to this problem is education. When
Mhm.
immigrants first come to this country, and I just think about my parents, they don't know certain things, and they don't know American history, and they don't know what the parties really represent. They can read, they can find out, but a lot of that information is secondhand, and it's erroneous, and it's from people who are broken emotionally, have baggage, right? Who are just incorrect because they're viewing the world in a certain lens and they're transmitting that information. Like Don Lemon from CNN, right? You got people like him, and most immigrants watch CNN. I just remember my dad would watch CNN. I mean, if that's your source, then you're not going to vote correctly. But
Right.
that's one thing. But also just yeah, yeah, I mean, I'll talk briefly to the Republican values, that just to educate these people, right? We are actually, the Republican Party is the party for small business, is to help these business
Hmm.
owners. Most of these people are business owners, and we believe in low taxes, right? Fiscal conservatism, low spending, low collecting, and less government programs. Instead of collecting all your money, we believe that the people can spend their money better than the government can. Okay, we don't believe in big debt. We believe definitely in low taxes, which translates into you being able to live your American dream. But somehow the Democratic Party gets credit for that, so it doesn't really make sense. And we believe in helping you actually to do well financially, which is the dream on every immigrant's heart that comes to the United States. But the Democratic Party is the party of enslavement that keeps people enslaved in ghettos and inner cities of America.
All said well. It is definitely true. It is all true. I just think that people, again, are slowly waking up, but they're not waking up fast enough to see that. And it's unfortunate that our country is so divided as it pertains to politics. When, again, I said it a minute ago, we should be helping to not destroy, but make our country stronger. Because, as the saying says, which is a true saying, we are stronger in numbers. And so I just don't see. Obviously, we know, Geeta, you and I, and many others, we know what the root cause of its evilness, and we know it's Satan
Yes.
destroying. But outside of that, we have got to use not only common sense, we got to use more than that. We got to use our faith to bring this back together. We can even touch base as it pertains to pro-life versus pro-abortion. Look at that, or they like to call it pro-choice. It is a dangerous game, and yet we are playing that game, aren't we, Geeta?
Well, we are, because the big liberal movement, again, it's a selfie generation. It's about me versus, it's all about me, my rights, my identity, my choice, my freedom, my liberalism. And look, it's prayer. It's a lot of prayer. We got to definitely pray for the country. We got to pray for our leaders. We got to pray for our election. We got to pray for our sanity. And I definitely believe there's power in numbers. And there's a very good chance that we could just get back on track here. Maybe this is just a detour. I don't know. but we definitely got to stay strong. And one of the other things I wanted to comment was the blue lives really matter, and I want to just thank you as well for your service, to the community and to the country. And I just think that nothing was more ridiculous when they started this defund the police movement. And the joke I always made was, well, when you call 911, do you want to get a voicemail? If you're talking about
Right.
defunding people, you're going to get a voicemail when you call 911. You can't afford to cut back staff in certain areas. So I don't understand this. Yeah.
It is something that is totally ridiculous, and I don't get it at all either. They're trying to silence the law enforcement community. They're trying to make it, and I talk about it on my show all the time. The left, because this is who's doing it. I
Yeah.
did many different shows, talked about President Biden. I talked about the different representatives who state that we need to defund the police. I know that it's a quiet term now, but it was
Right.
so relevant during COVID, right? But
Yeah.
you don't hear it much. But those was the people that saying that we need to defund the police, and now they see it more than ever. You can never defund the police. You should always want to do better and add more to the police. Right now, we have a failing employment rate right now that is going on across America. People have left the profession. They have either retired or quit or found other avenues. I'm always hearing, Geeta, about officers who are great officers who got out of the profession, and most of them at this stage are not retiring. They're just fed up and they're done, and they're out of there. And so I appreciate you for supporting us and for having the knowledge and the ability to spread the word. And we just love. I enjoy law enforcement. I'm never going to stop preaching and teaching about what really happens and what really matters in law enforcement. Giddy, can you see my screen there as I share your book?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So, as you see, Gita, give us a little headway. I know that the hour is spent and the time is dwindling, but we want to end on this note. My public letter to Donald Trump, freedom. So, tell us what made you choose that title and what is exactly my public letter to Donald Trump about.
Well, the Holy Spirit gave me the book. He told me one day, write this book and dedicate it to Donald Trump. So I said, okay. And I did it. I don't question when God tells me to do something. And really, it's just about, again, his legacy and what he's accomplished in the short time that he was there, my appreciation towards him, my gratitude, and just outlining item by item how he's impacted the country in a positive way, thanking him, and finally asking him to come back in 2024. And he has been hand delivered a copy of this book, and I'm now planning to meet him. That's my goal.
Which is going to happen.
Amen.
I believe absolutely it's going to happen. I believe in divine intervention, and I believe at the right time. That's why I live my life, knowing that things will happen. You don't have to rush it too much. And I know you feel the same way. It will happen in God's timing, number one. And so you will have the opportunity. Not only does he have the book, but you'll be able to give him a signed copy in person. So when you look at this, Amazon has your book on Kindle, which I'm a visual reader. I like to actually hold on to the book and collect them. You got a paperback book, and where else can they find your book besides Amazon?
So they can contact me directly if they want to buy in bulk. Those are pretty much the couple of options. If they go to my website, lifeafterchrist.com, there's a way to email me from the website. And that's another manner in which they can buy it through PayPal.
Got it. A little bit as an excerpt, it says that Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States, has broken barriers and kicked down walls that have held Americans' interests back for decades. As a timeless hero to the American people, he deserves the credit due him for furthering the American dream. In this book, Geeta Chopra extols the accomplishments of President Trump and elaborates on his leadership skills, his accomplishments, and his legacy. I say that all that is going to be beautiful in that book, and I can only imagine that there are some great things in store as it pertains to that book, and I'm looking forward to reading it, Geeta. I know it's powerful.
Yeah.
When we look at this, and we're going to end here, when we look at this, I do wish, so maybe who knows, President Trump might be watching, Geeta. Might be watching us. Who knows, right? But if we had the opportunity to talk to President Trump right here, I would say this to President Trump. These are my thoughts, my opinions, and my views. I want to see him back in. I believe in giving people all due respect, but not only that, giving them their proper time. I've done many interviews, whether it was the local news from different podcasts, and they always ask, "What made you? Were you always number one a Republican?" And the answer was no. Were you always a Trump supporter? And the answer was no. I didn't even really watch Apprentice. I joined the Trump train when he announced he was running for president. I said he sounds interesting. Of course, I knew about him, but I didn't know his policies, his politics. But I got to listening to him, and I was immediately sold. I said, "This is the man." And as years and years went on in his corner, I knew that he was the man, and it was very sad for many of us. I don't know if you were in this category, Geeta, but my circle of people who I work with a lot on a daily basis, outside of even the Blexit family, but not only the Blexit family, people I work with that worked for the Trump administration or who was working for Trump victory and doing different things, who was helping promote Black Voices for Trump. We all were very disappointed when we saw the work. Because think about it, all the work that went into it. I know you were working too. A lot of work went into that to see all that go downhill. The amount of money that was spent, time spent time in Georgia. I mean, we were all over the place here in North Carolina, and to see how the election turned on us, we all went into a dark hole for a minute. And it wasn't about the man. Let's just get that straight, people. It wasn't about the man, Donald Trump himself. It was about the cause, the mission that we helped him push and promote. We saw that go down the drain. That's where we went into a black hole. Yeah. Because number one, we only worship one man, that's Jesus Christ. So we wasn't worshiping Trump, but we understood what he stood for. So I was proud to put on a Trump hat. I was proud to put on my Make America Great Again hats, because that was not only a statement, it was a symbolization, and it was something that was true, right? So I still believe in Make America Great Again, okay? We have a lot more work to do, and I know that he's got a new slogan that's already out, but I believe that he's the right man for the job. But I do wish that we can all come together as one. We see Ron DeSantis and President Trump fighting right now, and it doesn't look good. It's never good when the same side who we should be opposing are fighting each other, because the opposing side is watching and saying, we don't really have to do much. We just sit back and watch them destroy each other. And Trump is a very powerful man. He was the 45th president. Guess what? Ron DeSantis has only been the governor of Florida, which he's about to term out. But compare the two, they're two different. And Trump is a billionaire. He's a businessman. He's a real estate mogul. So he has a lot more. And I respect Ron DeSantis. Don't get me wrong, Governor Ron DeSantis. But the two don't equate. Trump is a very, 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 very powerful man. So I'm not sure why he has to feel intimidated by Ron DeSantis. The only thing that Ron DeSantis has over him, in my opinion, is that the age. Ron DeSantis is much younger than him. I get it. But when you look at leadership and when you look at the amount of experience, they don't equate. One outweighs the next. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I thought they were not really at odds and they were kind of on good terms, but I think recently in the media they've been taking some lashes at each other. I think after the arrest of Trump and just showing that America is turning into a third world nation where we persecute our political prisoners to prevent them from running in free and fair elections against us. I think after that took place, then DeSantis had a few comments. But I also overheard DeSantis say that if New York wants to extradite Trump, he will not be involved. He will not participate in that. And that was the last I heard. I didn't realize after that things had gone downhill. It's unfortunate. We can't afford that right now, because our party needs to unite. I've noticed the other side on the left, maybe they don't have that issue as much. I don't know. But we can definitely pray for the unity and the harmony. But either way, somebody from our side needs to win. Obviously, Trump is my first choice and will always be. But we desperately need to win the next election.
We got to. We have to do it. One thing I will say about the left, they stick together, and we see that. We can pull out many different scenarios. One would be, look at when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House. The squad talked about getting rid of her, but they knew that they were less powerful than Nancy. But not only that, they knew that her name reigned. And one thing about it, the Democratic Party was not going to oust the third most powerfulest person in the country, who actually were doing decent things as it pertains to her strategic and her logistics. She was very well much, as you know, known for doing that. So the left was not going to oust her. But I got to admit, sometimes as Republicans, we will do it. We saw that when we were trying to go ahead and get Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House now, nominated. We saw how many times we had to go back to the drawing board. The Democrats took how many times when they voted Nancy Pelosi, and you know that, Geeta, they took one try. And so I wish we would stop the infighting. It's going on. Trust me. I'm seeing it right here where I live at. And I won't go in details, but our party is getting divided and it's called a distraction. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing now in the political field as it pertains to the president's race. And to kind of elaborate on what I was saying, Trump actually took a jab just the other day at Ron DeSantis. But the main focus should be taking jabs at Biden and not Ron taking jabs at Trump. Neither should Trump be taking jabs at Ron DeSantis. Unfortunately, they have put out some ads, well, at least on the Trump side, and I believe DeSantis may have too. And we don't want to lose traction, and the main focus is not Ron or Trump. It is Biden and the left agenda, whoever's going to try to take that seat. We know that President Biden says he's running again. Don't know how that's going to look for him. But we don't want, like you said, any of them winning. We want our side to win.
Yeah, it's not about
And I,
Biden, and as they say, the presidency is bigger than any one man in America. It's not Joe Biden, that we're coming after, nothing like this. Look, good for him, whatever he's accomplished, and I wish him well, when he finally does retire and things like that. But it's just the party, the policies that are coming out of it, and it's really something because it's normal to a certain extent to have political opponents against each other in the media, taking turns, taking swings. But I would say that at this time, as never before in history, it's pretty obvious that Satan is behind a lot of things in the United States of America and in the world. But definitely, I mean, it's to a point where I saw a quote the other day that he doesn't even disguise himself anymore, and the world still can't recognize him. Like, what
imagine.
else is it going to take? Let's wake up. I mean, that's what's happening. He's running the country. He's behind all this stuff. All these bills are getting passed. The whole transgender movement, all of it. You could see it in their eyes. You could see the devil in their eyes. I'm sorry again if I'm offending people, but I don't care. You need to wake up. Okay, it's not normal to change your gender like that. It's not. It's not godly. Okay, there's something there, and you need to repent. All right, because look, I believe that, not to sound religious, but this is the end times, right? And that's what the Bible says. When you see these signs, which we're seeing now, it's the end times. So we got to really get it together. Like you said, we got work to do. We got to pray. We got to pray for the right leaders to take office. All right. We need some God-filled, spirit-filled people, or we're just not going to make it. It's that simple. Like you said, China is not asleep. They're going full speed, full momentum. They don't have as much national debt as we have. They don't have a lot of the problems we have. They're more unified than we are. They're more economically sound. Okay, their currency. I know they devalue their currency, but they have really strong exports. Okay, we don't have exports, Antoine.
Okay.
We are an import-based country. Okay, we're dependent on other countries. There's something seriously wrong with that statement. This is the United States of America, but we're dependent on other countries for food, for imports. All right, and again. Donald Trump said we need to change that. He's the first person who stood up and said we need to get out of these trade agreements, okay, that are sabotaging American interests. They're not fairly written, okay. They're slanting towards favor in one country, and it's China. It's all China, And he addressed it. He really went after China, and he said, "Look, we're not going to be doing it this way anymore. You're not going to dump steel in the U.S. anymore. You want to do it this way." All the American businesses, you want to go to Mexico, you want to set up shop there. But when you come back and bring your income here, you're going to be taxed. He set all these things up,
He
and
did.
they just all gone. It's just we're back to where we were. We're worse with this guy. So again, I think if we vote for the right person, there's hope. But we got to pray to get this demonic force out of our system for sure. Because if you read the Bible, if you understand what's going on, that's exactly what it is.
It's the end times, and like I always state, you got to vote the person, not the party. But at this stage, it appears to be that our party is reigning strong, and if anybody is doing it right, it should not align with the left, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The way of doing business is out the window with them. But get it, I know the time is well spent. Your book is a powerful book again, My Letter to Donald Trump. And so we want you to go get a copy. The link's in the comments there. Go to Amazon and pick up a copy. I'm going to do that and get it when we meet in person. I'm going to get my book autographed and signed
Definitely.
by you. And I'm definitely, I know we had conversations off air. I'm looking forward to coming on your show. We'll find that date and time so I can come on your network and
Yes.
also be your guest and talk. You have been a tremendous guest. You are welcome on the Real Talk at any time. And I hope your book goes far and wide. And again, I appreciate your support, appreciate what you're doing. And I look forward to the future. Do you have any last parting words before we air off?
No, just amen to that. And thank you for having me. You've been a wonderful host, and it was really great to come on here and share today. Thank you again, Antoine.
I appreciate it. And as I always say, Geeta, I end my show just this way. We here at The Real Talk want to be able to reach one, and we love to be able to teach one. And so we want you to take this wonderful episode titled Women Who Have Strong Voices. And Geeta Chopra is one of those people. We want you to spread it. I'm going to put it all over social media because people have to hear this wonderful message that you gave us today, Geeta. And as I always say, God, continue to bless us in America and as a whole and as a world, that we would become stronger in you. And Lord, please continue to bless our United States Armed Forces. And of course, because I am in this profession, it's near and dear to my heart, continue to bless the men and women who serve in blue. And until we meet again, until we talk again on Real Talk,